Hello students, today we are going to study about the another important concept of the topic, that is about the microsporogenesis. What is microsporogenesis? The process of formation of microspore, from the microspore mother cell is called as the microsporogenesis. Okay, artha aita? What is microsporogenesis? The process of formation of microspores from the microspore mother cell or pollen mother cell by the meiosis is called as the microsporogenesis. Okay, the sporogenous tissue, the cells of the sporogenous tissue, it undergoes meiotic division. As a result of meiotic division, it forms the microspore tetrad. It forms the cluster of 4 cells that is called as the microspore tetrad. Each microspore tetrad, when the anther matured, then each cell of the microspore tetrad separates and developed into the pollen grains. So these pollen grains in the each anther, angiospermic anther, there are thousands of pollen grains are present. Okay, so this is about microsporogenesis. Then structure of pollen grain, it is also very important concept. If only the diagram is asked, it will be asked for 2 marks. In case the explanation is asked, then it will be asked for the 3 marks. So hangitandre structure of pollen grain. So let us study the structure of pollen grain. The pollen grains, these having the 2 layers, outermost layer of the pollen grain is called as the exine, inner layer is called as the intine. The outer exine, it is made up of one of the hardest material that is called as the sporopollenine. Okay, this sporopollenine is the most resistant material because it cannot be degraded by any of the enzymes. So hence it is the most resistant material, that is sporopollenine. The outer layer having the sporopollenine, and this sporopollenine is the hardest material, but at some reasons on the exine the sporopollenine is absent, that forms the germ pores. These germ pores are helpful for the development of the pollen tube. So you will study about it in later classes. Okay, so next layer is the intine. The inner soft layer is the intine. This intine is made up of, entire intine is covered by it is made up of the cellulose or pectin. Okay, inner to intine there is a plasma membrane. Inside the plasma membrane there is the cytoplasm of the pollen grain is present. This pollen grain having 2 types of cells. One vegetative cell, another one is the generative cell. Okay, so vegetative cell, it is the large portion of the pollen grain which having the large irregularly shaped nucleus. Okay, and another one is the generative cell. It is a small spindle shaped and having a prominent nucleus which is floating inside the cytoplasm of the generative cell. Okay, Okay, so these pollen grains shed most of the pollen angiospermic pollen grains, that is around 60% of the angiospermic pollen grains are shed at the two-celled stage. That is, one is the vegetative cell, another one is the generative cell. Okay, artha aagti? Okay, but only about 40% of pollen grains are shed at the three-celled stage. That is, this generative cell, its nucleus divides, generative cell itself divides into the two male gametes. Okay, two male gametes agi vadittada. So then it sheds, that is, one vegetative cell and two generative cell nucleus, that is three-celled stage anta helteve. Okay, artha agite? Okay, these pollen grains are actually helpful for the pollination. Apart from pollination, so these causes some allergies.